Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. On behalf of Al-Sadiq Institute of Islamic Banking, Finance and Takaful, I warmly welcome our distinguished speaker, respected members of our institute, professionals, academics, students, and all participants joining us today. Our session today focuses on Islamic social entrepreneurship, an area that brings together enterprise, social responsibility, and Islamic economic principles. The subject is particularly relevant at a time when societies are looking for models that can address social challenges while remaining economically viable and ethically grounded. To help us explore this important area, we are privileged to have with us Dr. Thamina Anwar. Dr. Anwar is an internationally engaged scholar, practitioner, strategist, author, and a speaker whose work covers Islamic social entrepreneurship, halal governance, ethical finance, and social impact. She is the founder of Trade Not Riba, an initiative promoting ethical economic alternatives and Islamic social entrepreneurship, and also the founder of Global Halal Shura Hub, which works to strengthen collaboration and Sharia compliant governance within the global halal ecosystem. Her professional engagement spans several regions, including the Middle East, North America, Europe, Asia, Australia, and New Zealand. Dr. Samina brings a particularly diverse academic background. She holds a PhD degree from the University of Khawazul Natal, is a chartered Islamic financial professional from INSIF, and also holds an MBA from Cranfield University, together with qualifications in engineering, communication, and education. She currently serves as a working board member of Mutual Aid Network in Madison, Wisconsin, where cooperative and regenerative economic models are being explored. She is also the author of the forthcoming book, Think Like an Islamic Social Entrepreneur, a mindset change for building a better world. Dr. Samina, we are truly invited to have you with us today. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Sister Saida. I'm so honored. So, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah khairan, and thank you so much for to all the people here, the audience, the host, and everyone who is actually present today. I'm really grateful. So, first of all, I would actually like to thank our Creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for enabling this session to happen. Simultaneously, I would like to thank Al-Sadiq, Institute of Islamic Banking, Finance, and Takaful for this collaborated session. So in today's session, I would like to talk to you all about something that I believe is much bigger than entrepreneurship. It is about purpose, okay? And that is the key word, purpose. It's about what we do with the knowledge, the wealth, opportunities, and talents that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. So the title of my new book is actually called Think Like an Islamic Social Entrepreneur, a mindset change for building a better world. Now, and the most important words in this title are think like. So I would like you to remember that, think like, okay? And that's because before we create an enterprise, before we can create an organization, before we develop even a business model, before we raise capital, before we can even employ people, we must first change the way we think. Islamic social entrepreneurship is not simply about creating another business. That's not what it is all about. It is actually about bringing faith, enterprise, and service to humanity. So in my book, Yep. We actually explore how entrepreneurship can become a means through which we seek the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala while addressing the real problems in our communities and in the wider world. Now, the ultimate message here, which I want to leave with you all today, is simple. It's very simple. It's about think differently, lead ethically, serve humanity, and build a better world. I hope you guys can see the small screen, but in fact, I have actually uploaded the printed version, the PDF version on chat, so you can follow if you can't see properly because this is quite small. Anyway, so there are a few questions at heart at the heart of this book. Okay, so let me begin with the first question in that you all should ask. Yeah, can entrepreneurship become an act of worship? Now, the second question is, can businesses become a force for justice, compassion, and lasting social transformation? And the third question is, what does it actually mean to think like an Islamic social entrepreneur? Now, these questions, these questions are actually important because we often separate our lives into compartments. You know, we sort of, you know, have blocks, you know, in our lives. Yeah. Like we have our religious life. Yeah. Then we have our professional life. Then business life, our family life, and our social responsibilities. But Islam is holistic, right? Islam does not necessarily view life in these disconnected compartments. The Islamic worldview is holistic. So if I run a business honestly, I create employment. If I create employment, if I solve a problem, if I help someone become economically independent, and if I protect the environment, if I treat my employees with dignity, these activities can actually have spiritual significance when they are undertaken with the right intention and within the boundaries established by Islam. They actually become part of ibadah, which is devotion. You know how we pray, we fast. Entrepreneurship can be part of ibadah as well. So this is where the idea of Islamic social entrepreneurship becomes so powerful. It takes us, it asks us to reconsider the relationship between worship, work, faith, and enterprise, wealth and responsibility, and profit and social impact. So you might ask, why does this matter? Why is this important? It is extremely important. Why we need Islamic social entrepreneurship? Because we are actually living in a very challenging world. Yeah, we're living in very difficult circumstances worldwide. Yeah, there's poverty is increasing, inequality, environmental problems, lack of access to education, lack of access to healthcare. And then another important thing is social exclusion. Yeah. So increasingly complex humanitarian challenges is actually one of the biggest problem that humanity is actually facing. So now the question we have to ask ourselves is that who's going to solve all this problem? Is the government going to solve any of this problem? The answer is no. Are charities going to solve any of this problem? No, they're not going to do it. International organizations, can they solve the problem? No, they're not actually interested. Okay. They just give you lip service. So, and the businesses, ask the businesses, can businesses solve this problem? They will actually tell you it is not their problem. It is somebody else's responsibility. So we need people who are willing to look at the problem and say, what can I do about this? Because we need to solve problems. Okay. And this is where entrepreneurial mindset begins. Yeah. But Islamic social entrepreneurship takes this one step further. Yeah, what it does, my model, it does is it says, how can I solve this problem in a way that is economically sustainable, ethically sound, socially beneficial, and pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? I repeat, pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the book therefore argues that Islamic social entrepreneurs have enormous potential to contribute to poverty alleviation, sustainable development, community resilience, ethical finance, environmental stewardship, and social innovation. So this is not just simply about starting a business, okay? That is not what Islamic social entrepreneurship is all about. It is about developing people who can transform problems into opportunities for service. I saw someone raising the hand. I will take questions later, please. Let me just get through these slides. So this brings me to one of the central themes of my book. Yeah, the first transformation is not the enterprise, actually. Yeah, it is actually the entrepreneur. Yeah. Before we can change the world, we have to ask, what needs to change within me? Yeah, within the person, the entrepreneur. So do I see wealth as something that belongs entirely to me? Or do I understand that wealth is amana, a trust from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Then the next question is, do I measure success only through money? Is that the only success in this world? Or do I measure success through the benefit I create? Do I see my competitors as enemies, or do I compete ethically while recognizing that there is room for collaboration? Like I'm collaborating with Sadiq, Al-Sadiq. So it's an example. Now, do I see a social problem as somebody else's responsibility, or do I see it as an opportunity to contribute? Now, this is where the mindset change has to happen. The Islamic social entrepreneur begins to see opportunity differently. Where somebody sees unemployment, the entrepreneur asks, can I create employment? Where somebody sees poverty, they ask, can I create a sustainable livelihood? Where somebody sees waste, they ask, can this become a circular economic opportunity? How can I empower people? Yeah. The mindset changes from what can I get? Yeah, what can I get? To what can I contribute? Okay. And this is the profound transformation we need to do. Now, what is Islamic social entrepreneurship? You might ask, okay? In fact, Islamic social entrepreneurship has not been defined so far. I defined it in this book. But I'm not actually putting the definition here. I'm just explaining here. So what exactly do we mean by Islamic social entrepreneurship? At its heart, we bring together three worlds, the three boxes you can see. So we have got the faith, and then we got the enterprise, then we got the social good. So the first is the faith, which is for us is Islam, okay? And the enterprise is grounded in the Islamic worldview, right? And in my book, I concentrate on Tawhid, Taqwa, Niyyah, Tawakkul, Ihsan, accountability before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then the second box, as you can see, is enterprise, right? So here we need innovation, right? We need entrepreneurship, we need leadership, we need strategic thinking, we need organizational competence. We also need financial sustainability. Good intentions alone is not enough. Now, the third box, as you can see, is all about social good. Now, the enterprise must contribute to human well-being, which includes justice, compassion, dignity, empowerment, community development, social and environmental improvement. So the book treats Islamic social entrepreneurship as something much broader than simply Muslim-owned businesses. That's not what it's all about. Okay, a Muslim entrepreneur is not automatically an Islamic social entrepreneur. This actually differentiates, this distinguishing question is, so the distinguishing question is, how are faith, entrepreneur activity, and social responsibility integrated? Yeah, how is it integrated? The integration is the key. So, it is actually a different definition of success here, okay? So let us compare the two different ways of thinking in terms of entrepreneur success. I hope you can see the small slides. But anyway, in a conventional model, we can focus heavily on profit, growth, market share, valuation, and shareholder returns. There is nothing wrong with that, actually. There's nothing wrong with making profit, okay? It's not a bad thing. In fact, an enterprise cannot survive financially if it's not if it's not financially sustainable, okay? But Islamic social entrepreneurship says profit is important. Remember that profit is important, but profit is not the ultimate purpose of the Islamic social enterprise. Therefore, we have to move from the mindset of profit to the mindset of purpose. Okay, so we have to move to profit with the mindset of profit with purpose. That is the simple form of explaining. And we have to move from financial growth to financial stability plus social value. And we have to move from ownership to stewardship. And we have to move from asking the question, how much did we make, to also asking, what difference did we make? What difference did the entrepreneurship make to our community? So my book emphasizes that economical sustainability provides the structural foundation needed to maintain social commitments over time. So I'm not arguing that Islamic social entrepreneurs should ignore money. No, I'm not arguing that. Quite the opposite. They need to understand that money is extremely vital, but money is a means, not the ultimate destination. So money is the means, but not the ultimate destination. Sorry, I thought this was all off. Sorry. In terms of let's go back to basic now. Okay. Islam doesn't actually reject commerce. Okay. Trade and entrepreneurship have a long and important history within Muslim civilization, but Islam places ethical boundaries around economic activity. The entrepreneur is expected to be trustworthy, honest, fair, responsible, and accountable, right? And this is particularly important because trust is one of the greatest assets any enterprise can possess. If you don't have trust, your customers will not purchase your products or your services. Even your employees will not trust you. Then we also have technology. Yeah, you can and also you can have money, you can have a beautiful office, you can have an excellent marketing strategy, but if people do not trust you, your enterprise will eventually suffer. Islamic entrepreneurship therefore places enormous emphasis on qualities such as amana and truthfulness. At the same time, Islamic commercial activity must remain within the boundaries of Sharia. And this includes the prohibition of riba, obviously, and the requirements for ethical financial relationships. My book discusses alternative Islamic financial structures, including partnership and risk sharing arrangements such as musharaka, mudaraba, and ijara and Qatar Hassan. There's many more instruments. but I'm not concentrating on that today. So the ethical entrepreneurship begins with ethical foundation. That is the key. You must have an ethical foundation. Now, from social enterprise to Islamic social um, enterprise, yeah, Islamic, that's the key. So now we arrive at an important distinction. What is the difference between social enterprise and Islamic social enterprise? A social enterprise already attempts to combine commercial and sustainability with social objectives. Yeah, this is the Western part. Okay. Now, but an Islamic social enterprise adds more dimensions. Okay, it is grounded in Islamic worldview. It is ethical principles from Islam. Its understanding of human well-being is influenced by the Maqasid al-Sharia. And its understanding of wealth includes stewardship. Its understanding of leadership includes accountability before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah. And its understanding of social responsibility includes concepts such as justice, compassion, cooperation, and human dignity. So its understanding of success includes al-falah. Yeah. So we basically have our faith, which is Islam, then the enterprise and the impact, yeah, which is written on the right-hand side in yellow. And these are not separate boxes, by the way. Please remember this. These are not separate boxes. They interact with one another. Okay. The book's framework specifically, we'll come to the framework later. Okay. So my book's framework specifically describes the spiritual, entrepreneurial, social, economical, and impact dimensions as interdependent rather than isolated components. Yeah, they're dependent. Okay, so this is one of the most important concepts I want you to remember today. That nothing is isolated; they all work together. Now we come to Islamic social finance. So one of the greatest strengths of Islamic social entrepreneurship is the rich tradition of Islamic social finance. Now, let's think of zakat. Everybody knows about zakat, yeah? But zakat is not simply charity. I mean, most people think zakat is charity, yeah? But it's not simply charity. It is an institutional mechanism for wealth redistribution. Yeah. Then we have Wakaf. Yeah. I do specialize in Wakaf. So Wakaf has a Wakaf has historically created schools, hospitals, water systems, universities, masjids or mosque, and many other public benefit institutions. Yeah. Then we also have Sadaqah, which is voluntary giving. Then we have Qadr Hassan, which is interest-free lending, right? So these instruments can become powerful catalysts for social entrepreneurship. But I want to emphasize something. Yeah, we should not think only about giving money to people. Yeah, I actually my first book actually has a whole chapter on that. But anyway, I actually don't agree with that because we should also think about empowering people to become economically independent, right? So instead of asking, how can I feed this person for one day? Yeah, we should be asking, how can I help this person to develop a livelihood, so that this person does not have to keep on asking for help. So instead of only providing relief, can we create assets? Can we create businesses? Can we provide skills? Can we create employment? Can we use Wakaf strategically? Can we use Islamic social finance to build sustainable institutions? This is where Islamic social entrepreneurship becomes transformational. Okay, so now we come to the spiritual foundation, okay? And I use the hadith of Jibril, okay, because a lot of people, know about it, yeah. So there is actually three um, um, circles, as you can see. The first one is Islam, the second one is Iman, and the third one is Ihsan. These three concepts help us to understand the nature of the Islamic worldview, actually. Yeah. So Islam represents the submission and the actions we do. Yeah. Iman represents the faith and the conviction. And Ihsan represents excellence. Yeah. Doing things beautifully and being conscious that Allah is watching us and Allah is, in front of us. Yeah. So all our actions we should actually try to reach, the state of ihsan or excellence in whatever we do. Why is this important for an Islamic social entrepreneur? Now, I use this model for a reason, okay? Because Islamic social entrepreneurship is not just about what we do. Yeah, it is also about why we do it and how we do it. So why and how. Like, for example, I may run exactly the same business as another person. So you might be running the same business as what I'm doing, okay? But my intention, my ethics, and my behaviors can be completely different from yours, right? So Ehsan challenges us to ask the question, yeah, the important question, eh, um, am I doing this to the best of my ability? Am I treating my employees well? Am I treating my customers honestly? Am I producing something of quality? Quality, okay? Am I creating a real benefit? Am I conscious that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching me and watching everything that I'm doing? That actually consciousness, the consciousness changes the entrepreneurship from simply being an economic activity into something with spiritual meaning. Then we've got the three anchors, yeah. And this is very important. We've got Tawhid, we've got Taqwa, and we have got Tawakkul. So Tawhid reminds us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is at the center of our worldview. Yeah. Then basically there's no separate sphere where Islamic ethics suddenly stops because we have entered into the business world. Taqwa becomes our internal ethical compass. It affects how we make decisions, how we earn money, how we treat people, and how we are transparent with one another, how we lead. Leadership is very, very important. And also then we have tawakkal too, that the third box, yeah. Tawakkal, tawakkul is something which is actually misunderstood, yeah. Tawakkul does not mean sitting back and saying Allah will take care of everything. No. Yeah. It is actually about taking the necessary actions needed, right? Although we have our ultimate faith um, in our creator Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but we still have to plan, we still have to research, we still have to take calculated risk. There will be failures, there will be rejections, there will be unexpected problems, there will be moments when we will wonder, can I actually do this? Yeah. So tawakkul provides a spiritual resilience. Then we've got so now we come to two very important concepts, yeah, Maqasid al-Sharia and al-Falah. Okay, so Maqasid al-Sharia refers to the higher objective of Islamic law, right? Traditionally, they include the deen, which is our faith. Then we've got the nafs, which is our life. We've got akal, intellect, nasl, which is family and lineage. And then we have got the mal, yeah, which is the wealth. So think about what this means for Islamic social entrepreneurship. Say if I create a healthcare enterprise, I may contribute to the preservation of life, right? If I create an educational enterprise, I may contribute to the preservation of intellect. If I create employment and sustainable livelihoods, I contribute towards the preservation of wealth. If I strengthen families and communities, I contribute to the preservation of family and social well-being. This gives us a powerful way of thinking about social impact. Now, then we come to the concept of al-falah. I discuss about that in my book quite intensively because some success is not simply about how much money we make. Success is not simply about how famous we become, right? We all want to become famous these days. Success is actually holistic, right? It includes well-being, moral excellence, social responsibility, material well-being, and ultimately success is in the hereafter when we pass away. That completely changes our definition of entrepreneurial success. Now I'm going to try and speed up because I've got just 1 hour. So now we come to, so who exactly is the Islamic social entrepreneur? Yeah. The Islamic social entrepreneur is not simply a person who starts a company or a business. The person is an agent of transformation, okay? And transformation begins internally. We need the niyyah or the intention. We need amana, the trust. We need the adl, which is the justice. We need the rahmah, compassion. We need the ihsan, which is excellence. And also we need the leadership. Okay, so these qualities have to work together, yeah, not isolated, but together. Because imagine having a brilliant entrepreneur who has enormous business capability but no compassion, yeah, or someone who is deeply compassionate but has no organizational capability. Neither is sufficient, yeah. Um, uh, Islamic social entrepreneurship requires the integration of character and capability. So my book explores the spiritual, the ethical, entrepreneurial characteristic that distinguish Islamic social entrepreneurs. I'm going to try and go a bit faster. So character is very important. Character comes before capability, okay? So this leads to one of my favorite ideas in the book. Capability is important, but capability without character can be dangerous, right? So my book discusses about qualities such as iman, ihsan, sabr, shukr, niya, ikhlas, adab. And then the ethical characteristics such as amana, yeah, adil, rahma, accountability, akhlaq. Think about leadership. People do not only follow our strategies, they watch our behavior. Okay, they watch how we treat people, yeah, when things go wrong. They watch how we behave when nobody's watching. They watch what happens when money is involved. They watch whether our principles changes when there is pressure. So a successful Islamic social entrepreneur must ask, who am I becoming while I'm building this enterprise? Because we can build a successful organization and still fail in terms of character. And we can also build an organization that succeeds financially while failing ethically. That Islamic model asks us to pursue both. Yeah, the Islamic social entrepreneurship model, which I've developed. Then, of course, we've got the entrepreneurial characteristics. So I'll go fast in this. So we need entrepreneur competence. Yeah, that is very important. Yeah, character alone is not enough. My book actually includes vision, innovation, risk taking, opportunity recognition, leadership, adaptability. So let us think about vision. An entrepreneur must be able to see what does not exist. Can we do things differently? Then, of course, we've got opportunities. Risk taking means being able to act despite uncertainty, yeah, but not being irresponsible. Now, leadership means bringing people together. Adaptability should not mean just abandoning principles. So the Islamic social entrepreneur must combine faith with action. And this is why I say faith must become action. Then we've got the ilm, yeah, the hikmah, and the murshid, yeah. So we need knowledge, we need wisdom, we need mentorship. Okay, knowledge is essential, obviously, but knowledge alone is not enough. We also need wisdom, the ability to apply knowledge properly, and we also need mentorship, someone who can challenge us, yeah, someone who can guide us, someone who can actually tell us when we are making mistakes, someone who has walked the road before us. So the five, okay. There are actually five. This is actually the framework, okay? The Islamic Social Entrepreneurship Framework, okay? So we've got here, yeah, the spiritual, entrepreneurial, social, economic, and the impact, which is actually the social impact, yeah? So I want to emphasize one thing. The spiritual dimension provides the foundation. It gives us the intention, the faith, the taqwa, the ikhlas. The entrepreneurial dimension gives us the capability, the innovation, the leadership, this management, the strategic management skills, and also of course excellence. The social dimension ask us the question: who are we serving? Are we advancing justice? Are we showing compassion? Now, the economic dimension actually ask us: did we actually make a difference? Are we measuring?
कॉफी वाली पिंक वाली
Are we evaluating? Are we accountable? Okay, so now we're touching on putting the framework into practice. So what we are doing here is first we have to identify what is the problem. Okay, um, not what we do or what do we want to sell. The next is understanding. Yeah, we need to actually understand the problem. Yeah, and we need to listen to people who are actually who are actually suffering. Yep. Then third box talks about the design. What solution can we create? Yeah. Then we have got sustain. The fourth box talks about sustain. How will the enterprise survive financially? Yeah. Then we've got measure. Yeah. Did we actually make a difference? And the final question is, are we doing good? You know, the entrepreneurship that we have designed, is it actually doing good? Yeah. And also we have to ask, yeah, what change have we made? So I'm not going to actually discuss further on that because of the time constraints. Now, in terms of impact, there is a danger in social entrepreneurship of confusing activity with impact. For example, we train 500 people. Yeah, this is an activity, but what happened after the training is more important. Did they get employment? Did their income increase? So that's what this is about. Okay, so basically, what is actually changing because of our entrepreneurship? Yeah, this is what we have to ask. Our investment, did it? Our intention, did it work? Yeah. And these are all measurable. So my book actually shows how to measure all this. Then what can go wrong? We all in everything, things can go wrong. So before I finish, I want to talk about some dangers because Islamic social entrepreneurship can be misunderstood. The first danger is tokenism. Okay, what I mean by tokenism is actually simply adding Islamic terminology to an ordinary business um, mm, uh, that does not make it Islamic social entrepreneurship. The second is religious marketing. We should never use Islam simply as a marketing tool. Yeah. The third is weak governance. Yeah. If we are managing people's money, wakaf assets, charitable funds, or social investment, accountability is extremely important. Um, and good intentions, obviously. The fourth is lack of knowledge. Good intentions do not compensate for incompetency. And finally, we must avoid moral grandstanding. It is easy to tell people that we are changing the world. The harder question is, can we demonstrate that we are actually changing the world? Okay, now I'm going to summarize. Okay, so what have we gone through today? The summary is that um, if there's one message I want you to take away from this is that Islamic social entrepreneurship is not simply about starting a business. It is about changing the way we think about our role in this world. So it begins with faith, and I've covered that, like, Tawheed, Nia, Taqwa. Then it requires character, which is Amana, Adil, Rahma, and Ehsan. It requires entrepreneurial capability, which is the vision, innovation, leadership, courage, and ability to turn ideas into action. Then we also require social responsibility, looking beyond ourselves and asking how can enterprises serve people, communities, and the environment. Let's not forget the environment. Okay, then it requires economic sustainability because lasting social impact requires enterprises um, and institutions that can survive and grow. And finally, it requires impact. Yeah, and we must be able to demonstrate that. And it's not just that and it's not just that, yeah. It is also, so my second book gives you all the tools you need, okay, of why you're creating it. It gives you step by step tools where you actually come up with the clarity, yeah. And also at the end you will have Islamic social enterprise business plan, which will also measure the social impact. Yeah. So, yeah, answering your question, I would say, purpose is the most important thing. You have to create a value, a value. And if you're not creating value, because the value shouldn't be just for yourself, but it should be for your community. The business, the entrepreneurship that you engage in has to solve a problem, has to have a purpose. Yeah. At the same time, you will make money, but money is not everything.
Agreed. Agreed. I agree with you. Definitely. Now I'll come to the second point of this, that is the funding side. Islamic tradition has given us, important social financial instruments, particularly waqf, zakat,
Yeah.
and sadaqah.
Yes.
So, in your opinion, how can these instruments be used more effectively to support Islamic social enterprises today? In particular, how can these be structured in a way that it can support long-term sustainability rather than short-term assistance?
And this is the key. Yeah, long-term sustainability,
Sustainability.
not
Agreed.
short-term. Yeah. And it's like you don't give a man a fish, you should give him the net. What does that really mean? You are actually providing him with the tools and also the means of actually sustaining his livelihood. You know, if you just give him a fish, he will just eat one meal, and then he'll come with the begging bowl again and again and again, and that is not the solution. Okay, so the solution with as you mentioned, zakat, wakaf, sadaqah, Qadr Hassan, there are many other tools, yeah, which I believe are not being utilized in an efficient way. And we have to educate, yeah, we have to educate people, Muslims, yeah, on how to use them, you know, efficiently and effectively, so that we find long-term sustainable solutions, not short-term solutions. That is not the aim. In fact, there are so many hadith where I can't I haven't actually because I don't like to quote things, you know, from my head, because I can't get it right. So, but there are hadith where Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam actually encouraged poor people to actually um, find ways, yeah, of actually um, having sustainable, you know, livelihood, instead of just going with the begging bowl, you know. Um, so that is the key, as you said, Sister Saida. And that's why we all have to have to concentrate on, yeah, finding, you know, long-term sustainable solutions, not short-term. You know, it's like governments, you know, they come for 2 3 years, they just want short-term, you know, things, and that doesn't solve anything. You know, we need long-term solutions. And this is why I said governments are not going to find solutions. You know, they're not going to find
Definitely.
yeah, they haven't found any solutions. They cause more problem everywhere in the world.
That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr.
Yeah.
Samina, for sharing your
Sister
perspective.
Saida, one of my he's such a British Pakistani. He wanted to ask a question. His name is Hakim. Is he able to ask a question? The last question. Would you allow it? He just
Yeah, sure.
messaged me just now.
Yes, sure. You can.
Um,
I have
so
to
Assalamu
give
alaikum,
him
everybody.
there you go.
one.
That's it.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much, Sister Samina. Thank you so much, everybody. So, just to answer a question, I have been listening to the question and answers, and mashallah, thank you so much for everyone's time today. So, my name is Mohammed Hakim. I'm from the UK. And coming back to the brothers and sisters' questions, as in where do we start in terms of the innovations and the social entrepreneurship, from my perspective, it's finding existing processes and seeing how we can improve them, right? So, just to give you an example on that, within our Pakistani community, pretty much everyone's aware of like a committee system where everyone puts some money, contributes some money towards a central pot, and that fund gets distributed to everybody. So in the UK, what we have is we have something called a death committee, right? And the purpose of that death committee is to serve people when someone from the community or someone from the group passes away. So not necessarily find new ways to create a wheel. What structures and what processes and institutions have we already got? Maybe they're running on old ethics, but given we're in the 21st century, what tools can we use that are available to us now that we can improve those systems and make them more efficient? So I just wanted to give that one example.
Dr.
No,
Samina.
yeah. So another thing that Brother Hakim, I've been talking to Brother Hakim. He's this is very interesting for him because he's actually British Pakistani. So you know his roots are in Pakistan. So another thing that we have been discussing is Takaful, which you guys actually your institution is also has got Takaful in it. Yeah. So that is like, you know, cooperative, right? Where people contribute. Yeah. So that's another tool that we didn't mention, yeah, is Takaful. Takaful can be used as well. But, you know, the main thing, as I mentioned, yeah, is that we need to change our mindset, right? And transform from the way we have been doing business or entrepreneurship to the way Islam, yeah, Islam actually it teaches us, yeah, which we have forgotten because we we've been so colonized, yeah, and we use the capitalistic model, which has totally failed. Yeah, I mean, look at the state of the world. Yeah, even in the West, I mean, inequality is huge. Yeah, I mean, we can argue about Bangladesh or Pakistan or parts of Africa, but even in the West, there's poverty. Yeah, and the rich are super rich. I mean, filthy rich. And that's not how it should be. What does Islam tell you? Circulate the wealth, and it's not happening. Even the zakat money, the sadaqah, wakaf, nothing is actually circulated properly. And this is where we have to concentrate on, you know. But before that, really, we have to clean ourselves, and that is actually change your mindset. So this book concentrates on that. The second book, as I mentioned, concentrates on the tools. And inshallah, I have all the faith in the world that we can actually, take the small steps to change things, to actually combat inequality, poverty, and yeah. So that's the
Thank you, Dr. Samina, for
okay.
your valuable time.
Yeah, thank you,
I
Sister
think
Saida. Yeah,
I
thank you.
think what has emerged very clearly from today's discussion is that Islamic social entrepreneurship requires both good intention and sound execution.
Mm-hmm.
As you have clearly mentioned, that but clarity of purpose is very
Mm-hmm.
important, but
Mm-hmm.
so are capability, governance, sustainability,
Mm-hmm.
and the ability to create measurable benefits.
Mm-hmm.
So, on behalf of Institute of Al-Sadiq and our leadership and our organizing team, I would like to thank you and all our participants for being with us.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you once again. Thank you, Dr. Samina, for joining us today and for contributing to this very valuable discussion. We hope today's session has provided not very useful, but very practically applicable insights
Mm-hmm.
and ideas that participants can reflect upon and apply in their personal and professional
Mm-hmm.
and in community contexts as well. With that, we conclude our today's webinar. Jazakallah khair. Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you. Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi.